The Six Nations is here, and the battle for supremacy is about to kick off. Who's rising to glory and who might face heartbreak? Let's take a look how I think the championship will go. 6th, Wales. Wales, well, what is there to say about Wales? Well, it looks like Gatland hasn't been sacked, considering he's named a squad, which is interesting after a year where they didn't win a single game. Well, except for that 1-point win over the Queensland Reds, but I'm not sure that's much to go shouting about. I'm still not entirely sure what their tactics are. They seem to be kind of stuck in a bit of a no man's land and stuff like that. The interesting thing about the squad that they've named is they only have one recognised 10 in Dan Edwards, who's also uncapped. So I'm not entirely sure what they're going for there. I know like Anscombe's picked up an injury, Costello picked up an injury. There's also a few more potentially strange decisions on players that haven't been picked. Max Llewellyn, who I believe is the joint Premiership try scorer right now, and Rio Dyer and Cam Winnett, who have both been pretty good for Wales over the last year. You know, a year that hasn't been great. I think the two of them have been pretty good for them, so it's interesting that none of them are in the squad, and I'm pretty sure none of them are injured either. But Liam Williams is back, one of plenty of Williams back in the Wales squad, which is nice to see after that game they had against South Africa before the World Cup, where the only Williams in that whole game was Grant Williams for South Africa. That was quite scary. Part of the reason why I put them in 6th is also their running in the Six Nations. It's not exactly favourable with the way the games lie. Their first game up is away against France on a Friday night. I mean, that's probably not going to go particularly well. They do have England at home. Might be considered a favourable fixture, but England's probably got enough about them right now to win that game. They have Italy and Scotland away, which is concerning because those are the two teams that they've consistently been doing pretty well against over the last few years, even when they haven't been at, you know, the high standards we've seen Wales over the last sort of 10 to 20 years. You know, even last season where they lost both of those games, they did nearly come back against Scotland, and they did beat Italy 2 years ago in Rome, and they had already been completely written off that year because Italy beat them the year before, but I'm not expecting to see much from this Wales team in those games. But saying all that, it is Wales. They've won championships that no one has expected them to win before. 2021 comes to mind. If they somehow get a big win over France in that opening week, then that could really set them up for success. But like I said, I don't think that's going to happen, and I think they're going to lose to everyone in this Six Nations. 5th, Italy. Last year, they had a really good Six Nations. Big wins over Scotland and Wales. That draw against France that they probably should have won. They were within a score of England. I know they scored right at the end in that game. That was still a pretty good performance from them. The only game they got smashed was against Ireland, and Ireland were really good at the start of that last Six Nations. But saying that, after the Six Nations, they were very inconsistent. They lost to Samoa in the summer. They got absolutely battered by Argentina in November. Nearly lost to Georgia again in the November. But then they came up and put in a really strong performance against the All Blacks. So it's kind of hard to judge where this Italy team is right now. They could turn up and get kind of rolled over by everyone. They could turn up and beat everyone. I'm not entirely sure at this point. But they are in that part of their development phase where they are kind of inconsistent right now. Every team who goes through this does that. I remember Scotland a few years ago, you couldn't tell if they were going to turn up to a game or not. And I feel like that's where Italy are right now. With their squad, it's a bit interesting. It does look a bit light. Spaniolo was out for the start of the Six Nations, which is one of two loose heads they played last year. But it does give Rizzoli a chance to show why he should be involved more often. They do potentially not have the greatest of runs. They've got Scotland and England both away, and with France and Ireland both at home. Those are going to be tricky games. With Scotland and England at home, they might have been able to get something out of those games. I don't see it happening away. And I think Ireland and France are probably going to be a bit too good for them to win those games at home. And yeah, I only really expect them to beat Wales at home. I think they'll challenge Scotland and England in those games. And I think all of these games that they have will be closer than they've been in recent years. But I still wouldn't be shocked if they did end up getting smashed in one game this year. But yeah, I'm expecting them to beat Wales and lose to everybody else. 4th, England. They're in an interesting position. They've been playing quite well, but haven't necessarily got the results. Marcus Smith is looking really good, but part of me is thinking there's a lot of that is because of how much he has to be involved to get this England team moving. If you can get him out of a game, it's probably going to be quite comfortable against England for a lot of these sides, but that is easier said than done. They do have some injuries with Faye Woboso and Furbank, probably two of the bigger losses. I think Underhill's also picked up an injury, so that's not going to be great, at least for the start of the championship. I'm not sure when Furbank comes back, but I think he's closer to coming back than Faye Woboso. But I do think they are looking good. They're just not quite there yet. Future England captain Maro Itoje is now current England captain Maro Itoje, so it's very nice to see him take on that role. I have put them in 4th. but I do think they're playing well, and if they turn up in Dublin in week 1 and get a win, maybe there's a chance for them to do something here. But I think they'll beat Wales and Italy and lose to Scotland, Ireland and France. And the next one is maybe where some of you are going to click off or scream a beast at me in the comments. But just remember guys, this is just for fun. Let's try and be nice to everyone. But before that, I just want to invite you to my Superbru Predictor pool for the Six Nations. You can join that by going to the app and clicking Join Pool and choose Six Nations Predictor and use the code rushcity, or by clicking the link in the description below. I hope to see you there. Now on to the third pick, who some of you probably aren't going to like. Third, Ireland. I think a lot of people are either unaware or underplaying Farrell not being the head coach for the Six Nations due to the Lions. Ireland have steadily declined over the year and looked really shaky for most of the November games. They need to make changes and Farrell's not there to do it, which makes me think not much change will happen. I'm not sure if Simon Easterby will be given the license to make the changes necessary for the team to improve. This is his first time as a head coach since he left the Scarlets over 10 years ago, I believe, so will be interesting to see how he adapts to the added responsibility of being a head coach, as it's hard and it often takes time to get things going. Take Farrell himself when he first joined Ireland, or Razor with the All Blacks. Two good coaches who struggle at the start, and I'm not convinced that he'll get them going from the off, even though he's been involved in the Ireland team for a long while now. Saying all this, however, it would not shock me if they turn up and beat everyone and win another championship. Having the France game at home is certainly in their favour, but I just have a gut feeling that France will win that, and that Scotland will finally end their rut against Ireland this year. If they can't do it this year, they'll never do it. But their fixtures overall are quite kind. Having Scotland, Wales and Italy away, those are teams they traditionally beat, and England and France at home, the games they more traditionally struggle with. It does put them in a good place. They have had some injuries. Dan Sheehan's been out for a bit, but he is back, and we'll see if he's able to come back to the team immediately or if it takes a bit of time for him to get back. But their front row is probably a worrying place for Ireland, maybe not right now. You know, they've still got Furlong, they've still got Bealham, and Bealham maybe wasn't the greatest for them at the end of last year, but Furlong's still great. And because of O'Toole's ban, which means he's out for the opening 2 games, the uncapped Jack Boyle has come in to replace him. So it'll be interesting to see what he does if he gets a chance in this championship. So I think Ireland will beat England, Wales and Italy and will lose to France and Scotland. Second, Scotland. I think we were quietly good in 2024, didn't quite get the results for the performances similar to England, but I think we have a better run in and are further along in our development. With Ireland's performances and the temporary head coach, I think it's the best time that we have to finally beat them. Should be good enough for Wales and Italy at home. The England game is interesting. We're on a 4-game winning streak against England. This one is at Twickenham, so England are probably getting to that point where they're kinda due a win, where they've been really close games. I don't know how many more times Scotland can keep on winning, but I think Scotland have the mental edge in this game and they'll go on and beat England at Twickenham again. Looks like we'll also finally get to see Darcy Graham back in the Six Nations. The last time we saw that was back in 2022, so touch wood. There have been some injuries for Scotland though. Johnny Gray's been out injured recently, but it looks like he is back now, so hopefully he'll be able to have an impact on the Six Nations. Kyle Steyn and Adam Hastings are both injured for at least the first couple of rounds of the Six Nations, but hopefully they'll be back and we'll get to see them later on in that championship. And at the weekend just past, Scott Cummings and more worryingly, Sione Tuipulotu have both been injured. There are other good options in those areas. Obviously Johnny Gray can come into that second row slot, and there's Stafford McDowell and Rory Hutchison both in the squad too, who can replace Sione, but it's still an absolutely massive loss for Scotland to lose their captain and probably their most informed player right now. Fergus Burke has also chosen to play for Scotland instead of England, and I don't think he's just in the squad for capturing reasons. I think he is there on merit. I think with Hastings being out, he is Scotland's third choice 10. I think he's been playing better for Saracens than Thompson or Healy have been for Edinburgh. So I think Scotland are going to beat Italy, Ireland, England and Wales and lose to France, but hopefully I'm wrong and they go on and win the championship. Please. Please, I beg, please. I just want one that I can actually remember happening. That's all I want, just one. Please. 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 First, France. If you're playing along at home, you'll notice I've gone for a Grand Slam for France, which is a big call, especially considering they need to play Ireland in Dublin. They were so good in November with their favoured halfback partnership in Dupont and Intimac back together. I'm expecting big things. But you know, if the France team from the first half of the year turns up, it could be hard. I write multiple predictions for this, and the first one I did was before the November internationals, and I had them in 4th. So the results in the November have really swayed me here. Dupont has been on fire, and they really look like a different team with him in it. With Intermac, it'll be interesting to see if he can capture his pre-injury form for France, and we've also got Jalibert back in his 10, even after his little spat in November. They have really good depth, and have about 3 players in every position, where if they started, you'd probably go, he's pretty good, ain't he? I mean, Baptiste Saran isn't in the squad, and to put that into perspective, he's starting over the likely starting 9 for Scotland and Ben White for their club, and he's currently their 4th choice. That's just not really fair, is it? I mean, I think he's probably better than Luku, but that's not my choice that matters, is it? The only issue they have is with Dante and Fico out, we're not really sure what their centre pairing will be. Mo Fana is the obvious one at 12, but outside him, it could be any of them. I'm thinking I like the look of Barassi to start there, but Deportier is the club teammate of Mo Fana, so they might go in his favour a wee bit. And interestingly, out of those options, they've got a Pro D2 player in Noah Nene. So, you know, France, you can like stop flexing about the quality of club rugby in your country whenever you want. No? Okay. I mean, I probably wouldn't either, so fine, I guess. So yeah, I think France will beat everyone and win a Grand Slam. And of course, lift the championship trophy, which is only one of 9 trophies played for in the Six Nations. And you can learn all about every one of them by watching this video right here. Thanks for watching.